Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Events 101, from registration to thank you. So we're really excited to be taking you through the events area and seeing if we can unlock some tips and extra bits of information for people to start thinking about when hosting and running events. So we'll just start off by introducing ourselves. My name is Louise and I am the Chief Growth Officer. So I'm working with all of our prospective clients, some of our existing clients to really understand your needs and help to put together right packages for them. I actually have a background as a fundraiser, working for lots of different charities. I've used lots of different CRMs and I used to run lots of different events, fundraising events, committee events, all sorts of different things. And I know the difference having a really good CRM to support you can make in really streamlining all of those processes. So really excited to talk to you more about that today. Going to hand over to Jack.
Cheers. Morning, Jeff, and afternoon, everyone else. So I'm Jack, the account manager at Compico, and I work in the team with Louise and Alex. I work with all of the not-for-profits and membership organisations that we support from like first point of contact through to their project end. And my background is very much in digital transformation, so I've worked with other CRMs such as Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, before coming to the open source world of Civi. I'll hand over to Alex.
Yeah, and I'm Alex. I'm Senior Marketing Manager here. I'm also I got certain qualifications as CRM administrator, done that in the past with Salesforce, also worked with HubSpot, done various integration stuff, and now working more with Civi clearly. So yes, I'll be speaking bits during today, and clearly in marketing, I know something about events, so good reason for me to talk here. Pass back over to Louise.
Thank you. So we've got a little agenda, as you can see here. We're going to run through some different topics and we're going to show you a little bit as we go. If there are any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll save some time at the end for any ones at the end. Okay, so let's start off with Alex, who's going to talk us through different types of events.
Yes, so let's start with different types of events. We thought we'd start with just listing a few types of events that you guys might be involved in, or certainly that we see people in the non-profit community run. So a big old classic that people like doing is the gala dinner. So, you get everyone together in a big room. Often this is a fundraising thing. And yeah, a lot of organization, lots of thought goes into it, but it can be an absolutely amazing event, really memorable event. You can do all sorts of things with it, raise a lot of money from these events, and just a great night for everyone. But that's one kind of event that's quite clear, but that's a big nighttime event. A kind of more regular thing that you might be running is training courses. Now you could be running volunteer training, of course, if you're a charity, you're doing fundraising, or you just need volunteers for something. But we also work with different membership bodies and trade associations and those kind of organizations who might run kind of more professional skilling up training courses. And so this is something that often we need to see accommodated as well within that. Another thing you might be running is networking events, again, more common within the kind of professional membership body world, perhaps just to introduce yourselves to different people within the area. You could do speed networking, so many different ways you can do that. Engagement and social, just general social events. So membership engagement events are very popular here. It's really good to make sure that membership and even just donors, in the fundraising world are engaged with your mission, that you're talking to them, that they're talking to each other, really building that sense of community and investment in what you're doing. And of course, there's the big one, which is the conferences, annual general meetings or whatever it is you're doing. These ones can last, day, two, possibly longer if you're a really big organization. And they're a very big undertaking. You might be having people coming from, different places around the world, depending on your organization. So these can be really important events that you want to make sure are organized very thoroughly. But those are the kind of events that you could run. But really, if we break down events, and take it back a step, we want to think about what are events actually being run for. So one of the main reasons that you might be running events is income generation, which, if we adapt that to the nonprofit world, what we're talking about here is generating new members or, perhaps fundraising. Another reason that you might be doing it is just awareness, getting people to know about, who you are as an organization, or perhaps a specific campaign you're launching, or, you're trying to put more of a spotlight on. Engagement, as we've just said, making sure people, are interested in your mission. Community building, having a really valuable, engaged community is super important. And knowledge sharing. Again, this could be the kind of training stuff that we've discussed, or it could just be, you know, a kind of lecture or something where you want to share something that you've done or that you are very knowledgeable about. After we've thought of the purpose of the event, and, you know, these are things that you're going to want to think about every time that you're running an event, you're going to want to be thinking about the scale. So is it a large event, a medium event, or a small event? And this can be really, really important when you're running it, because clearly the considerations you need to consider for a large event are very different to a small one. Small one, you can get away with, you know, you can really think this is the amount of, you know, refreshments I might need. Large, you're going to need to think on a whole different scale in terms of refreshments, health and safety. Those kind of things are going to become much bigger consideration just because of the amount of people you might be gathering. You know, and also when you're running these events, are they a solo activity or is it a group activity? So if you're doing training, you could be doing training in groups, for instance, or, you know, whereas if it's a solo activity, perhaps, as we'll see in a second, maybe it's not an online thing, so people won't be interacting with each other. So you need to consider, you know, how much of time you might need for these different things. And having kind of like looked into that a little bit, what you'll need to be thinking about is the setting of the event. Clearly online events, especially nowadays, and, you know, given that we're in a webinar, are a big thing. But in-person events are still incredibly popular, and up and coming is the hybrid event, which, you know, people like the online element a little bit, but clearly there's a lot of value in the in-person, but you can kind of mix and match. So you might do an in-person event and live stream it as well. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to think of the logistics of that? Because, you know, if you're doing an in-person event and live streaming it, there's quite a bit of legwork involved that you're going to need to plan for there. And of course, there's the cost, you know, the bit that we all love for every event. There's free events, and there's also paid events. You know, you can have a free event where you just want to make it informational, make sure as many people go as possible. Perhaps if it's for your membership organization, it's one that's kind of paid for within the membership. And you can also then make them paid, you know, if you want to make it a more exclusive thing. And in addition to that, I think if you click again, Louise, there is also tiered events, you know, where you can have different levels. There might be a free and a paid option. You know, you get a VIP pass, or maybe, you know, if you pay a little bit more, then you get a bit more access, and you need to plan ahead what exactly it would be that people get if they pay a little bit more for the event. You know, what's the special extra stuff. But now we've kind of discussed the basics of, you know, given some ideas about what events are, and really when you're planning your event, what you're going to need to do. Let's talk about the registration. You know, that's what the webinar title starts. And you're going to want to start by inviting your audience. And we're going to need to think about who are you inviting? And for this, we want to be making sure that we segment our audience. People who attend our webinars often or watch webinars in the past probably have heard us talk a lot about segmentation. It's a favorite topic of ours, certainly mine within marketing. People who are segmented are 50% more likely to click on your emails. But how and what exactly does this segmentation mean? What it means is separating people out into different lists, kind of breaking them down. As you can see on the side, we've got some images here. You can break them down by geography. You can break them down by their age. You can break them down by membership tier, you know, bronze, silver, gold. The ways you can do this, and you know, you can do it manually. You can kind of get the list of all your people and go, well, this person's in this category. You can imagine that gets very time consuming. And, you know, you can make these static lists based on filtering if you want. You can do that yourself, or you can also do that in a more automated way. But realistically, most of us are probably not dealing with static lists. We're probably dealing with lists that are going to grow and evolve over time. So one thing that's really useful, and certainly within our world, within the Civi world, you can automatically, you know, do this using smart lists, which are going to automatically update based on certain pre-made criteria. And that way, you know, you've got your mailing lists in place based on whatever criteria you've decided to use. So now we've had a basic go at creating our list. And as I said, if you want to find out more about segmentation, we've got other webinars on that. How do we actually get in touch? Well, email is actually often the most effective way of inviting people to your events. You know, there's all sorts of flashy things you can do with advertising, with channels. You know, you want to put it in as many places as possible, but it's been found that email is generally, if you've got an engaged mailing list, the best place to invite people. And to do this, traditionally, you're going to have to upload your list of people, if it's not already there, onto an email platform, you know, or cross-reference your existing list there for, you know, the people you actually want to invite. which, you know, those of us who've done uploading to these emailing platforms in the past, we all know it gets a bit boring, you know, getting all these spreadsheets uploaded, keeping it up to date. You know, if you're doing it every weekly, monthly, how often you're doing it. It's also, you're leaving yourself prone to mistakes, just because the data can overwrite itself, or, you know, just something goes wrong. It's the kind of introducing the human element there, which causes issues sometimes. So we would say that it's so much easier if you end up doing all of this in your database, getting all of your email data within your database, which is why we kind of like within the Civi world, we have the Civi mailing, we have the templates that you can use, you know, all the great newsletter stuff you can make, which especially within Civi, you can also then exclude lists, which is fantastic. You know, you can have a list that you want to email and a list that you don't want to email. So I want to email everyone in London, but I don't want to email the gold members who are in London. So you can kind of really make it customized like that. And I think on the side here, well, we've got a picture. Just if you went into our YouTube channel, the CiviPlus YouTube channel, you could find more about emails, more segmentation. So that's just something if you want to see more about this.
Okay, thank you, Alex. So I'm now going to talk a bit about the online registration. So really, the first part about this is how can we make it simple for both parties? So having an online registration form go directly into your CRM is really key to making it easy for you. An online registration form makes it easy for them, and it coming straight into the CRM makes it easy for you as an administrator. So what do we want to do? We want to be able to gather all the basic information, but we also want to be able to gather bespoke details. For example, if we're running a dinner, we could ask about dietary requirements. Any kind of event, we might want to ask about accessibility needs. And if you're running something like an international conference, you might want to ask people to tell you about their accommodation. There are other things that you could add, such as session sign up if you're doing training, or like a multi-aspected event day. And you can also add a sign up for members only if you're running a membership organization. So by using an online registration form that you can create yourself, you can basically control all of the information, make it easy for your participants to give you that information, and then have all that information in one place on your CRM. And then combined with that, if you're running a paid event, then taking the payment in that same process really makes things much smoother. Manually managing paid events can be very time consuming. There are organizations who are still, you know, using much more manual process of bank transfers and all kinds of taking credit card payments over the phone, which you can do. And there are people that might prefer to do that depending on who your audiences are. But really, the best way to do it is to let your CRM collect the payment at sign up. It will automatically attach that payment to that contact. So you will get the record that they've signed up to the event and the record of the payment they've made. And then also, it's much easier to implement more sophisticated fees, such as Alex was mentioning earlier. So you could have tiered tickets. You could offer discounts and early bird rates, always good for getting people to sign up. And you could even add add-ons as well. So maybe you've got a magazine that goes, you know, that could be sold on top of an event ticket, or a t-shirt, or whatever it is. Or you could even ask for a donation on top of your event ticket, depending on the nature of your organization. So this is an introduction to those online registration forms. And now we're going to just give you a quick demonstration about what they could look like. So I'm just going to increase the screen 1 minute. And I'm going to hand over to Jack.
Brilliant. So like Louise said, we can do both paid and free events within Civi. So I'm going to give you a bit of a visual of what like a journey would look like. So from a website, you go to the registration form. You'd obviously fill in the information as an individual registering for an event. On the page, it can be customized by your organization. So you have full control over this. That would then take you through to a confirmation screen, just so they can review the information, and then the thank you screen. In the back end of this, it can kick out an automated email to the individual who's registered. But then as an administrator, you can actually go into the CRM and see instantly that Rebecca Walker has been registered to this particular event, how much she paid if you did do a paid event. And then you can actually go into the individual event here and see a full list of all the people that have registered for this individual event. And there's a number of bulk actions that you can do off the back of that as well. And then if we go through to the next video, I'm going to show you an example of a paid event, which will have some more steps on the form, obviously fill in the credit card information, etc. Brilliant. So we've got a VRP gala dinner example here. So this form's a bit more sophisticated in terms of people can register themselves and somebody else. So they can actually purchase an individual ticket, fill in their information, or maybe a ticket for other people as well. They can fill in all of their card information. They can review the registration or go through to the next step, which is registering the second person. Again, purchasing a ticket on their behalf. So this is really useful for like larger events, maybe like purchasing tables, specifically like the gala dinner that Alex mentioned earlier. Then if they went through to the next step, they could either skip this participation registration, or they could go through to the next stage. So they will talk through to the confirmation screen, so they can review all the information. They can go through to the next step, which will be the same as the one previously, so the thank you screen. And then if we go into the actual CRM itself, we will see, if we refresh the CRM, that 2 people have now been registered for the VRP dinner. And then if we actually went back into the VRP dinner dashboard, we will see that we've already had 2 people registered, but then we've got 2 new people that have actually paid £100 for this event as well. And again, you can do bulk actions off the back of that and do all your reporting as well. So really useful in terms of event sign up. And I'll hand back over to Alex.
Yes. So as Jack has kind of been hinting at there, and we've been talking about, one of the major things you're going to want to be doing during registration is kind of tracking who's actually signed up and what kind of way they've signed up. So this is quite easy, honestly, to deal with small events to some extent. You know, if it's a small event, you can keep track of it somewhat manually. But when you're dealing with much bigger events, or certainly when you're dealing with running several events at once, you know, think of these training courses that people might be running, it gets a lot trickier to keep track of who signed up to which course and when are they and when did they sign up, and, you know, especially if you've got to deal with other things around it like payments. And certainly the CRM makes life so much easier with automation. You know, it can track things such as registrations clearly, as we just said, if it's done on behalf of someone else. It can also, you know, table hosts and the recruiter. Lots of this is what Jack said. And invitees who are yet to respond. So, you know, Jack showed that someone else was signed up there. Maybe you want a confirmation back from them specifically, you know, have they responded or not yet? And another thing that you can have on Civi is you can have automated wait lists. So, you know, you say there's only 50 people who can sign up to this. You have 50 people sign up, and then you have a wait list. Maybe one person then pulls out. And as you can see, and I think it's being pointed to at the side, and the event summary, yeah, you can see that one person is on the wait list there, and if someone pulled out, they would automatically be then given that place. And of course, there are also pre-made reports. We'll talk about more about reporting later, because it's more at the end of the event generally. And here we just kind of wanted to present a kind of visualization of what would it be like if we're doing response tracking kind of before the event in a manual way versus an automated way. So we've used the blue here to represent manual tasks and the kind of orangey color to represent automated tasks. If you're going to be doing it in a manual way, tracking, you know, when all the response things, I won't go through it step by step, but you can see there's a lot of things going on here. You've got to log it all, you know, log in a spreadsheet, possibly even if you're doing it that way. You know, when I started my career, I was working with a company who logged all their events in a spreadsheet. It took a long time. Certainly glad I don't have to do that anymore. You know, and if you're doing it with payments as well, it gets a lot more complicated. The only thing that's generally automated there is actually receiving the payment, because, you know, you need to have some kind of process to do that for you. But instead, if you do it in an automated way, and we've got all this automated process set up within Civi, you can have it, you know, you need to still click the button to send out the invites. That is something you're always going to have to do. You can't just, you know, maybe one day AI will get clever enough where it can run events for us. But right now we need to set them up and kind of establish them. But at that point, it can go in a very on the rails process where you only need to get involved if something, you know, goes wrong. But, you know, the forms can then log details and payments for you, as we've seen. You can send out the automated confirmation email automatically via the system. You can create reports automatically. Basically, the system will take care of all the little bits, all of the admin in between. And you can set it up with templates, as Jack will be showing later, so you can actually repeat this in future ways. So it's so much easier.
Great, thank you. So I'm now going to talk about a really great bit of automation. I think is one of the best bits about the system is the ability to set up scheduled reminders. So we always think it'd be really great to have pre-event communications. Once somebody's signed up, you do want to send out some reminders before the event. So of course, first of all, they're going to get their automated booking confirmation email, as everyone has now come to expect if they book online. But the automated reminders are a really great added extra. So what you can do is set up an automated reminder to go out anytime before an event. It could be, we have an example of the screen here. So we've got an automated reminder that is going to go out to everyone who has registered for an event. And we've set it up to go out one day before the event start. And we could send things like video links or information about the event in advance. We can send out any documents as well. You can also create automated notifications for yourself for any manual communication tasks as well. So that's something different that you're able to set up separately, that once you've got the event set up, you can say, remind me to do X, Y, Z. But the best bit here is about setting up these scheduled reminders and using templates of the types of communications you want to send out. And we're going to show you that in a bit more detail in a minute. And when I say in a minute, I mean right now. Let me share the screen again, make it bigger, and hand over to Jack.
Brilliant, cool. So yeah, like Louise touched on, scheduled reminders is invaluable in Civi. So you can set both pre and post scheduled reminders to go out to people, including things like links, information, and all the like key bits that Louise touched on now. So if we went into one of these templates, let's say the one day before, we can actually edit that template. So you can see this one's got one day before to all the people that are registered for this particular event. You can specify like very granular when it actually goes out. You can auto record an activity against the contact record as well. So that's really useful for if people say they didn't receive a com from you. You can specify who it comes from. And then you can also use templates as well. So if there's a regular communication that goes out, you could select the template, which could have tokens in, which are like mail merge fields for personalization. And then that email would be personalized to that individual that's attending the event based on their information on their contact record. So yeah, really, really useful in terms of saving you a lot of time as a person that runs an event, and also just making sure that more people come to your event as well. Brilliant.
Hey, okay.
Back to you, Louise.
Back to me. So now we're talking about running the event. So on the day, so things that you can do using the events module is print name badges directly from an events list. You can record attendance straight away. You can have someone with a laptop sat there recording attendance. You know, it's in the day, back in the day, I definitely used to sit when I was running events with a big list, and someone would turn up and I'd need to find their name on a list and tick them off. It'd be much easier now. You can just search their name straight into the system and mark them as attended straight away. You can also, if you're running a fundraising event, and I used to do lots of those, is like record pledges on the day as well. If people are filling in pledge cards, you can collect them up. And again, using that same laptop, upload people's pledge or donation information, and then have that all ready to go out in one of the follow-up emails the next day, asking them to redeem their donation. So here is an example of that. And also, if you're running any auctions, or anything on the day and someone's won a prize, again, you can record and offer to donate for that prize. You can record all of that information straight away so it doesn't get lost. And also it means you're absolutely ready to do all your follow-ups the very next day, which is something that I know for me used to be so time consuming. The next day it would take you a day to enter all the information, and then you kind of lost a day before you can do your follow-ups. And you can also update any individual interactions with any contacts. So if you've had an event and there's maybe it's a member engagement event, and somebody has said to you, oh, actually, I'd like to volunteer for something, you'd be able to log that information onto the system and then actually even assign a task. As we mentioned earlier, you can auto assign tasks. You could assign a task to the volunteer manager to reach out to that individual the next day. So the quicker and easier way to get information onto the system, the better. And the more you can then use that data, use that information to benefit the organization and benefit your supporters or members or whoever it is you're engaging with. So now we've done the event and now we're going to move
Yep.
on to thank yous, Alex.
Yeah, that was certainly a quick event. But yeah, we're now on to the thank yous. And so like the thank yous and the follow-ups are one of the most important parts of any event. You know, if you're running your event, obviously you're going to spend a lot of time thinking about the preparation, the actual event itself, but don't ever neglect the thank yous and follow-ups. You know, this is generally where whatever you were trying to achieve the event might be achieved, you know. So one thing that you can do really well is that, as we've already talked about, the scheduling, the pre-event comms, you can schedule your follow-ups as well. So schedule those automated thank yous. And they can really vary on the type of participant you've got, and you can create roles yourself for this within the system. You know, you can specify them if you want. So you can say, oh, I'm going to send out an email to someone, so thank them for attending, thank them for speaking. You know, we can mark someone as having been a speaker. We can thank them for volunteering if they're a volunteer who is helping run the event. Or, you know, obviously the sad one where people can't unfortunately make it, you can say sorry for you couldn't make it, and really make a kind of tailored email towards that kind of person. And as we said, if you're doing something around pledges and donations, you can automate emails around that based on certain criteria. So you could have a payment link with the amount kind of entered there if they've made a pledge. Or after the event appeal, you can give them kind of a donation link if they haven't actually made a pledge yet. So you can go, oh, you know, you wouldn't say you didn't make a pledge, but you might say something more around, you know, oh, it'd be great if you could help us out with our cause. And of course, another thing you might want to do there is if you've got another event, another webinar, and maybe just, you know, advertise those, and also just some general stuff about your organization. You know, keep your emails generally short, don't make them too long. Make sure it's very clear what the call to actions you want to have in your email are, but at the same time, you know, there is some time you have to flesh out what you're doing to your audience a bit more and give them a bit more information. And of course, as it also says here, you can send automatically generated certificates. So this is a really great part within Civi. It can generate certificates based off templates for you. So say we've got this training course. One great thing you can do with a training course is you want to give a certificate to someone for having completed it. So you can have a certificate set up within your system, and then the certificate can put someone's name on it, you know, put the date on it, put whatever fields that you want to kind of put automatically on there, send it out to them. And then certainly within the CiviPlus system, it's very easy for the person to come into a specific area and kind of download it themselves. But I think that's more on CiviPlus, but certainly within the Civi system, yeah, you can generate these certificates, and it's a great bit of functionality. So we've got some examples here just to show you the kind of emails that you can set up. You might have seen some quickly in the email, the video Jack did earlier. This is the thanks for attending email here. As you can see, the recipient type, we've made it clear that pledger is its own thing. It's not just attendee. This is someone who pledged. So we want to make those very specific. Sending it out a day after the event. We're going to have a standard template here that we're using, of course, just because we're using a standard template, which, as you can see in the subject line, has a merge field, a kind of token of the event title. So that's automatically going to be filled in. But just because we're using that doesn't mean then we can't go in and customize this email if you want to say something specific. You know, these are still bulk emails, so it's not going to say something specific to a specific person, but you can say something specific about the event. Here we can put in extra tokens, like here we've got the contribution total amount. So automatically, if that's the way we've recorded what the pledge was, it will kind of say, this is what you said you give us. And here, you know, we've given them a link so they can complete the payment. And then another example might be the email to people who didn't show up. So we're sorry to have missed them. Again, it's going out at the same time. We've got the template set up again. And here we're doing things pretty much the same to start off with, but we're going to, you know, say, hey, here's some photos we took. You know, do you want to look at these photos to make them feel, you know, oh, it looks like a great event. Wish I could have gone, make them feel more connected. But we're also going to give them the opportunity here to find out more about us and our mission and donate possibly, because even though they didn't attend, we still, you know, it's not like we want to go, oh, well, you didn't attend, we're not going to ask anything from you. We still want to think about, you know, how can we kind of engage with them still, and, you know, maybe they still want to donate if they couldn't make it. But all of that being said about the standard kind of automated responses, one great thing you might want to do after your event is actually find out, well, what did people think about it? And here you can see we've got a feedback form set up, and it's really, really important to have feedback on these things to know what you can do better for the future. So you can have a follow-up survey automated to your audience. You can make this its own thing within its own email, or you could just put a link within one of the emails we've talked about, and this can automatically log responses. And you can have it its own thing, or it can log it in specific fields in Civi, depending on how you're doing it. So all of this will then be super easy to analyze in one place, make a nice report. And yeah, you can even then combine this with segmentation. So say you want to ask a specific segment, maybe you want to ask the people who donated, why it was that they specifically donated. And then the people, think about it a bit more carefully, but the people who didn't donate, what could you have done better at the events? Or, you can tailor your questions up a little bit. First time attendees is a good one, of course, your gold members. And then another thing you can ask, what were people going to look for from future events? So always looking to improve. And if you can get this actually qualitative feedback, or even quantitative feedback in some cases, 1 to 5, rate the event, it can really help was it good, was it bad, rather than kind of the vague feelings we've got. So that can be really helpful. And I think I'll pass over to Louise at this point.
Me for the events admin. So we're just going to touch on a bit of the administration back-end side now. So we're talking about here event templates. So event templates are really good for events that you run regularly, similar types of events. Maybe they're annual events, even if you've got one annual dinner or one annual, I don't know, marathon, whatever it might be. And the idea with an event template is you can set it up once with all the information, and then the next time you want to repeat that event, it just takes a few clicks to set it all up. And that's really good if you've got a complex price sets, you've got the same, maybe it's in the same location every year, maybe it's got the same criteria to be part of the event, maybe it's got the same online registration form. So you can set that all up as well. It's also can be really good for repeat events. So maybe if you're running a training course as well, something that's repeating weekly that you need to book on into each individual session. So a workshop or speaker series as well, and training courses, which I already said, I went in the wrong order. So we're going to give you a demo about creating the full event setup from start to end, but just kind of wanted to highlight the event template part of this, which we will show you as well. And then the other part, it's Alex's part to talk about reporting.
Yeah, we're going to talk a bit about reporting first. Reporting is something that I love, kind of analyzing all the details, big part of marketing. Here you can look at kind of the, there's going to be a strategic overview of how your event's gone. That's kind of thing you can look at. The kind of people who've booked versus the people who've actually attended. That's sometimes 100% attendance at an event. Sadly rare, not impossible, but something you want to be keeping your mind on. You want to look at the kind of number of donations or pledges of specific events raised. Always very useful if you're in the fundraising world. What's the attendance across a series of events? Maybe one is doing better than another, so compare against each other. But we can also be looking at more individual breakdown reporting than just these strategic figures. We can say dig down into a specific contact's attendance record. We want to know if this VIP donor, how often they attend different events. Do they come often or do they not? You can also then look at things like sign up, attendance, kind of the fees people pay, and feedback, and it's all linked within one system. You don't have to kind of go over to another system and, God forbid, do some kind of horrible integration and kind of retrieve it from there. No, it's all within Civi. It's all easy, and it just kind of feeds back into one. You can then put it all into your reporting.
So I'm going to take you through quite an advanced reporting video. So I don't know how familiar everybody is with SearchKit, which is a really advanced search functionality, which is within CiviPlus. And I'm just going to kind of show you a little bit about the kind of complex reporting, overarching reporting that SearchKit can do. So we're going to do an events overview report. So what we want to do is get a feel for all the different kinds of events that we've run. So you can see here, a basic list is going to just show a mixture of all the events that I've run, conferences, meetings, webinars, workshops, and a mixture of dates and attendees. And I can chop and change what information I want to see from this. So what I can do is maybe I wanted to group these events by event type, and I'd be really interested to see what we've done. So I can run that report and see that across our conferences, we had 761 attendees. Across our webinars, we had 453 attendees, and I can group that event participant grouping together. And so SearchKit, it can do any kind of grouping with any kind of data information. So that's one example. We're showing another example here now about the statuses of participants that, as Alex was mentioning, are people booking but then not attending. And while you can do that event by event very simply in the simple search functionality, what you can do here is do it as an overview. So if we've set this up, we can now see that of 600 people that have registered for our events, 446 have attended. I'm not sure what is that 75% attendance, something like that. So it's just giving you a very quick overview of the kinds of reporting that you can do once you dig into SearchKit. And then you can save these reports to be easily accessed in lots of different ways. So here they can be within the SearchKit saved searches. You can easily access that. And there's also room to create other reports within that section. But if you go into the event reports area here, we've got this report all set up, and then we can filter it very easily here. So you can set this up for other members of staff to be able to access, so they don't have to worry about the complex query building in the SearchKit. They can just enjoy using the report and filtering if they want to see, well, how many meetings did we have this year? When were they? How many participants did we have, etc. So it's just giving you a bit of an advanced event reporting view, because I think it's something that maybe not as many people are as familiar with. So let me come out of that and back into our demo. Right, so I think we're going to hand over to Jack, who's going to take us through an end-to-end event creation.
Yeah, hopefully everything we've discussed should like come back into everything now. So here I'm going to actually create an event template in real time, and then I'm actually going to show you create an event from a template after this as well. So if you jump in to this, I'm going to edit an existing one for ease of use for the purpose of this demo. We're going to edit this CPD training or conference, let's say. So we'll give the template a title, so that's so you can refer back to it in the future. You can give it a title, event summary. You can offer the waitlist like we touched on earlier. We can display it in the members area, which we'll cover in a different video. And also we can do paid and free events, which we've also touched on. And we can also offer different payment options. So maybe pay later or pay now via one of the forms like we showed you. And also you can create different ticket types as well. So you can use price set as well, also to create more complex pricing structures. So like a ticket plus a donation, let's say, or a meal. And you can also offer discounts by sign up, so early bird discounts, just to encourage individuals to sign up for events and get the event fuller quicker. Then if we go through to online registration, this is where you can actually build out all of your own online registration forms. And again, sticking on the themes of template, you can actually preset and create templates and then have a little preview of what you're actually going to be collecting from people that are registering. So we can edit them by adding these different fields. Of course, the individuals will be filling that in when they sign up. You can do things like accessibility, dietary requirements, all the key stuff that you'd want to do, whether that be an in-person or online event. Here's where you create the confirmation screen and the thank you screen. And also really important here, an auto email will go out to that participant to say that you registered for this event. Also within CiviPlus, we've got members only events. So if you were to run member specific events, or maybe people that are in a particular group, we can also prompt people to sign up for the next level of membership if they don't hold a membership with you already. So that's a really nice way to grow your membership if you were a membership organization as well. Then if we close that here, because we've already touched on schedule reminders. But yeah, this just shows you that obviously the full end-to-end process is really easy, and that you can edit and create different templates like we showed you a little bit earlier on. Now, what we'll do is open up the other video and show you create an event from a template. So here we've actually set up the template, and then in the next video, we're going to show you it already been created, and then you just edit the information. So I think you can create an event within like 1 minute. So it's really, really useful. Brilliant. So we went into events, new event, and then we can select from templates. This is one we just created. And you can see that all of this is already populated other than the event title and event summary and other key bits of information as well. So you can set the start and end date, of course. With a new event, you'd want a new start and end date. You'd keep the maximum number of participants because you've already pre-created this template. But again, you can adjust and edit that if you wish to. You can go through to the next page. You can see that it's already selected pay later, and yes, you want to set payment. The ticket types are already there. Again, you can edit all these if you wish to on the fly. Online registration forms will already be there and out of the box because you've already saved the templates. Members only events, all the settings that we selected on the last video are already here as well. And then the schedule reminders are all here as well. So you can see literally within 1 minute, if you have good templates set up initially and you do run regular events that are very similar, so webinars, for example, maybe in person, like training sessions, you can create events really, really quickly. So from an admin perspective, it saves you a hell of a lot of time, which is really, really useful. Now I'll hand back over to Alex.
Yes, so let's summarize all the different things we've been talking about. Obviously, we talked a lot about the online registration and payment to start off with. So it's fantastic that using a CRM, you know, part of the biggest task you have really is to kind of get together all the information at the beginning of the event, and doing it through a CRM means you can just put it all into one central place via forms rather than having to do it via email, spreadsheets, and whatever other, you know, phone calls and pen and paper in the really old days. So yeah. You can also track those replies, so you can make sure you know who's responded and when, and kind of like where you are with everyone in terms of payments and everything. Capture and record specific info, so that's what we were just talking about with kind of, you know, dietary requirements is the very often one. If anyone has any accessibility requirements, if you're dealing with a more physical event possibly. You can then automate all those pre-event comms, and I know we've shown quite a bit about that, but that is super, super useful rather than having to remember, you know, a few days out, oh, I've forgotten to send them out, and then panic and then rush them out quickly. Which at the same time, you want to be able to automate those thank yous, get those thank yous out after. They're all important follow-ups to really make sure that your event was a success, and that whatever you were looking to get out of the event, whatever your purpose was, as the purposes we discussed, happens. And yeah, we've talked a bit about the reporting. Reporting is super, super important, making sure that you have kind of like, and you can analyze the events. Was it a good event? Should I run more of those events? And this is really what you're looking for in reporting. You know, which of these events got me the most, and which of these events, you know, can I learn from? And we talked about the more qualitative side of it, but there is that kind of quantitative stuff that you can do within Civi itself. And of course, all of this, with a lot of this, we're looking, how can we reduce manual tasks? Because organizing an event, and I know this from personal experience, is a lot of effort, a lot of work. And so anything we can do to automate a few things, take some workload off us, you know, even reduce the chance of, you know, human error is just fantastic. So that's something we're looking for. And I think at this point, I will pass you over to Louise, who's going to talk a little bit more about CiviPlus.
Yeah, so that's kind of come to the end of our Events 101 introduction webinar. And just want to tell you a little bit about CiviPlus. So CiviPlus is based on Civi CRM, and it is a nonprofit dedicated, of course. It is easy to use, it is powerful, but most importantly, it's an all-in-one cost-effective package. It's basically got all the features that a nonprofit organization would need now, but also includes all the features that they will need for the future. So what does CiviPlus do? So it is really designed for growing organizations, and it has all of these features that come out of the box straight away, but not all organizations will need to use every feature straight away. And that's why we say it's really future-proofs your organization, because you might not be needing something now, but it will be there for you if you decide you need it in the future. So what can it do? It can manage contacts. Now, one of the best things about Civi is that it really understands nonprofit contact management in terms of relationships. That one contact can be many things in a nonprofit organization. They can be a member, they can be a trustee, they can be a volunteer, they can be so many things. And so Civi really understands how to put that all together. CiviPlus takes payments online using Stripe and Go Cardless for direct debits. We can track fundraising opportunities, grant, foundation applications, major donor, legacy, and individual opportunities as well. It's got a very comprehensive membership management area where you can manage multiple complex membership types all in one place. events, of course, otherwise we wouldn't be here. And within that events, you can also track CPD, continual professional development, and also, as we've said, run all the ticketing for complex conferences. Built into Civi, as Alex mentioned at the start, is actually a drag and drop email builder. So when you're sending out those email communications to invite people to your events, you can use the built-in email builder within Civi, which will then also record all the information about the opens, the click-throughs, etc., also all within the system. CiviPlus has a fantastic case management module. So if you are managing any types of cases with your organization, often that can be certainly with professional bodies, trade unions, or anything to do with social work, social services, that can all be tracked and handled through CiviPlus. There are task dashboard, which are always my favorite. So not only can you assign tasks to yourself to remember what to do, you can also have automated tasks created when certain criteria is met. So maybe there's a new member application that comes in that could automatically create a task for your membership manager to, pick up the phone and give them a call or book a meeting, whatever it is you might need to do as part of that process. You can also assign tasks to other members of staff, as I mentioned earlier, and that's always really important because there's often more than one member of staff dealing with any individual. So it's really good that you can not only track everything that you're doing, but also, like, if you need to ask someone to do something for you to follow up with them, there's a really clear and easy way to do that. Reporting and analytics. So we showed you a bit of the complex reporting that's available within SearchKit, but there are over 100 basic reporting templates within CiviPlus. Also, you can also report on anything, any data that is stored within the system. You can create your own report. And even if you create your own custom fields within Civi, you can also report on that. So if you decide the data you want to collect is, would people prefer chicken or beef or vegetarian at your events? You can report on that as well. Surveys and petitions. We've talked about sending out surveys after the event already. We can manage volunteers within CiviPlus from application processes, training, certification, as we've mentioned, tracking any kind of applicant. So maybe it's volunteer, maybe you're a grant giving organization, a membership application, maybe there's a several step process to becoming a member. That can all be tracked through the system with automations built in. And we've done a few webinars about that as well, which you can check out on our YouTube channel. Grant management as well, if you're a grant giving organization, end-to-end grant management, including external reviewers, an ability for them to review applications and not necessarily have to have a login to your system or send out hundreds of emails individually. A certificate generator, which we've mentioned, and our extra special self-service portal, which we say puts the plus in CiviPlus. So we have a really comprehensive self-service portal, which is fantastic, especially for membership organizations, where they can manage all of their data. They can self-serve and update their personal details. They can book for events online. They can have access to member-only events in the portal. They can see a history of all of their invoices and much, much more. And again, we have a separate webinar about the portal as well. So we're just going to take a first look. We're not going to dive into CiviPlus, but we'll just take a first look at what a contact record looks like. Here's our very good friend, Mr. Tony Stark. He's actually Jack's best friend. And we can see here on the front page of his contact information, we've got all the key information laid out very clearly and easy to see. His work, his emails, his addresses. And we've also got here an area for tags. We can see he's been tagged as a major donor and a volunteer. Like I said, Civi understands complex relationships. And then down the side, we can see every other area of the system that Tony has interacted with. And you can see here's our events area where he's been to one event, and we could click in and see what event that was. We're not going to go into all of that now because we're kind of coming up to time. So we're just going to finish off by saying that we'd absolutely love to talk to you. There's so much to talk about, and we try to make these webinars quite general to try and capture something for everyone. But the best thing to do is to set up a call with us so we can give you a personalized demo and really understand your needs and what it is that you're looking for, so we can work out how CiviPlus can really help benefit your organization. And then the last thing to say is we actually have one more webinar in 2023, which will be about creating supporter journeys. So beyond welcome emails. I have a suspicion that Alex will be leading that one and giving some top tips about how to really engage with your audiences, because once someone's connected with you, that very first welcome email, how do you continue that engagement and continue to grow them with your organization? And I think that draws us to the end. So are there any questions at all? We can open up the floor. Any thoughts, feelings, or comments?
Silence is always bliss.
Stop sharing my screen. There we go. Well, maybe let's pause on the record and we'll finish that there. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.